See, the power of the mind is not a joke.
You gotta have the courage to speak your own mind, to speak your own heart, to voice out whatever needs to be said from your heart, from your center. Because how much like holding back have you done in your life that has caused so much frustration and so much tension within your own physical body because you weren't able to voice out what it is you wanted to say, because you didn't want to be seen a certain way, you didn't want to be received in a certain sense by others around you, by maybe a colleague, a friend, your partner, your boss, whatever it is. And obviously, like I'm saying this, always having respect for the other individual, the other human being that is in front of you. But it is okay to speak your own mind. And if it's something that you've been dealing with where you don't speak your mind and you always tend to silence yourself or to not say what you think or how you feel, well, let me just tell you that more than likely in your throat chakra, you're going to accumulate energy that's going to be there, and you're going to pile up in that in the category of anger and resentment, and you're going to build up that tension within your own physical body. And then what happens is that the more you pile that on, well, then you sort of blow up like a nuclear atomic bomb instead of just saying what you want to say and learning and honing your communication skills in order to be able to communicate how it is that you feel internally. So like to the external world or whoever it is that you want to tell or you want to say how you feel. Because if you keep it in, you're losing respect with your own self, because obviously there's exceptions to this rule, but I'm saying if there's a scenario where you're just holding back because you're afraid to be disliked, you're afraid to not be loved, you're afraid to be received in a way that you're afraid of how that's going to be received, well, let me just tell you that you are shutting yourself down. And by doing that, well, more than likely, you are not showing the highest form of love. You are not showing the highest form of self-respect to your own being, to your own person. And it is completely okay to stand and to stand in that confidence of saying how you feel and saying the things that you want to say. If it's not harming anyone, if it's not hurting anyone, you are allowed to use your voice to explain and to communicate how it is that you feel, because no one can read your mind. So too often we make the assumption that people understand what we mean or what we're saying, but you have to understand that people come with a baggage. People come with certain preconceptions of stories, of certain events, and that shifts their perspective on a certain event, a certain thing. So therefore, if you're not able to communicate, so to make sure that you're on the same page as the other person and you guys are seeing it from the same perspective, the same point of view, or at least you're matching it to have that conversation to communicate. If you are not voicing how you're feeling internally, no one can read that. Like, no one's a psychic reading your mind, reading your energy. Yes, you can feel it, but it's not a clear communication on how it is that you feel internally. So that's where it is your duty. It is like your job to communicate how it is that you feel and to voice that feeling out, because you're allowed to, and you can stand in that energy of you are more than enough. And listen, obviously sometimes the message that is said, it is not the message itself that can be harmful, but it is in the way that it is said. Everything can be said with the right tone, with the right delivery. So working on that communication skill to be able to say how you feel, because more than likely, if you pile up you not saying how you feel more than once, then twice, then three times, after multiple times, it'll start piling up. You'll feel that feeling of resentment, of anger, and you're going to lower your vibrational frequency. What's going to happen is then that frequency is going to drag you down. Your thoughts are going to be like the thoughts you're going to pick up are going to be on a lower vibrational scale, like lower on the vibrational scale. And then you're not going to be the positive, energetic human being that you are, because you decided to put yourself to the side and let the other person let the other person see you the way you wanted them to see you and not voice how you felt. And what happens is that might feel good in the moment, but it's going to feel a lot worse going down because you put yourself to the side and that's not what you wanted to do. But then yes, there's some sacrifice that needs to be made sometimes, but more than likely you're able, if you were able to hone on those communication skills and literally be just able to externalize how it is that you feel within, you'd be able to voice out how you felt. And pairing it with the feeling of being enough and understanding that you can say what you feel and how you're feeling on the inside. I am feeling this. Well, then you're respecting yourself, you're loving yourself, and you're valuing yourself to the point that you understand that you are enough and it is okay to communicate how you feel instead of hiding away and being the little self that maybe you've been accustomed to being and just always taking sort of the silent route because you didn't want to break any eggs, or like you didn't want to walk on any eggshells and you didn't want to break anything in a relationship, in whatever it is. But it's okay for you to voice out how it is that you feel, because if not, the only person that you're going to be hurting is you. And how can you expect to be the best version of yourself and to fulfill your full potential and to be who it is that you want to be if you're not able to communicate clearly and precisely how it is that you feel to others? Because let me tell you, one of the best skills you can hone in on as a human being is your communication skills. Because if you can communicate how it is that you feel in a way that it is beneficial to you and to the other person or to the other people involved, well, then you can come to a mutual agreement and now everybody can understand each other. And instead of just feeling little and wanting to go hide and wanting to go put yourself in a little ball and fetus position and not voice out because you're afraid of how it's going to be received, perceived, or just felt, well, then you're now able to go from that state of just feeling little and now to step into that bigger version of you, that higher version of you that is simply communicating how they feel without it being an attack or without the fear of being perceived as a certain way or not being perceived as not enough or feeling that feeling of just not enoughness. But now you step into it. You might be afraid, but you do it you do it with the fear and you do it afraid. Because by doing that, now you move from fear to faith. You move from fear to confidence, and you're doing it, and you understand that you might not be the best at doing it the first time. But if you do it continuously, and you now voice out how it is that you want to feel, well, hey, you hone in that communication skill, and you get better. And now you don't assume things, or you don't assume how others are feeling, or you don't assume what they meant. If you have the thought of creating an assumption off of of how someone feels or how someone meant something they said, now you don't assume. You communicate and you say, hey, what do you mean by that? And you hone in and you press on to fully understand the situation, because that's what you now demand of yourself, because you went from the little you to the bigger you that went from not enoughness to being enough. And now you know that it's okay. If it's okay for you to communicate how it is that you feel in a way that is respectful and not harmful to any other human beings, well, you can do the same for others, because what we give is what we get. So what are you giving? Are you giving that same ear? Are you listening? Are you creating assumptions of how people are saying what? Because sometimes what they say and what they think are two very different things. So maybe let's bring it a little further. But this is for you to be able to be making yesterday jealous and becoming better in your communication. Because trust me, if you step up that communication level in your own being, your entire life, every aspect and every area of your life will grow, will flourish from you being a better communicator. So, hey, this is why it's the importance of feeling our feelings, internalizing that, sitting with it, having a journal, processing our thoughts, writing them down, getting them out of our head, getting them on paper, and externalizing that for us to look at it more objectively and being less subjective with it, so that, hey, when it comes time to communicate to others how we feel, you've done the inner work with yourself, and now you're able to process because you've done it over and over again, and you know who you are, and you can establish, am I being the little self or the bigger self right now? And you know that simply it is just a matter of communicating properly how it is that you feel, the emotions that you are feeling, the feelings that you are feeling internally, externally, so the others understand through your communication how it is that you are feeling inside of yourself, so that there can be love, there can be a high frequency, and everything can benefit and flourish from that. So make sure, my friends, communication is a very important thing. You got to communicate with yourself first. You got to hold yourself to a certain level. And that's just the price of greatness, right? We got to have standards. We got to have habits that are instilled through discipline. And let's hone in that communication. It's the end of the week. I feel like a lot of people, if they got better communicating, would live in a better world. So this is the message for you, my friend. I'm communicating to you that you have it within you. Let's just start practicing, because practice makes perfect. So let's not strive for perfection, but let's strive for progression. So can't wait to see your progress. It's the end of the week. It's Friday. I'm going to wish you guys a happy weekend. I'm super thankful, as always, for you guys listening and watching to the episodes. And as always, my friends, let's have a great weekend. But as always, let's keep making yesterday jealous.